Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah, where you at?
Oh, yeah. You gonna let me have it? You know what I'm saying?
Come on, bro. Get on it.
Work out the cake.
Welcome back, everybody. You are now tuned into the High at 9 News. Thank you for joining, not only to get your High at 9 with us, but also high noon on the East Coast. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street, and it is Friday, May 5th. Today is National Cartoonist Day because 2 dimensions are better than 4 when you're playing chess. National Astronaut Day, Jeff Bezos. National Silence the Shame Day, so say it with your chest. World Portuguese Language Day, dame beijo. Shout out to the Portuguese out there. International Day of the Midwife. Delivering babies when your wife is too busy, just trying to make rent. National Space Day. Another one for space there, too. National Totally Chipotle Day because nothing says IBS like a little bit of salmonella in your lettuce. African World Heritage Day because the diaspora continues to thrive. School Lunch Hero Day because anybody who brings a lunch or packs a lunch or eats lunch at school is sure to make it through the afternoon. National Hoagie Day because submarine sandwiches are a thing of the past. And of course, it is Cinco de Mayo. Jason, you gonna hit me with an air horn there? What's going on, man? A little hair. Yeah. Everybody out there watching, please like, share, and hit the subscribe button. Follow us at High at 9 News across all social media platforms. We're live weekday mornings on YouTube and Twitch, audio only on Clubhouse. If you do choose the Clubhouse route, you can also participate by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story presented. Now, getting things started today is the man, the myth, the legend, or are we going to go into an ad first?
Come on, you're rolling. Yeah, we start off with one, and then we go into an ad.
Let's go, man.
Yeah.
Let's go. You know who it is. It is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Highest Republican in the party. And also, he was scooting around Santa Rosa this week, sitting on his high horse. I gotta say. Y'all know who it is. Jason Beck.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Rico. Yeah, we have been on the road all week. We've had an amazing week up in Northern California. We want to thank everybody who has helped us out with all of this. Mr. and Mrs. St. Germain for all of their amazing housing accommodations. We want to thank them over here at the Germain Lair and Castle. That's right. You see in my background. That is correct. That's what it's like over here, everybody. Thank you to Hall of Flowers, iSpire, Emerald Cup, OCB, all you guys. Thank you all so much for allowing us to have such an amazing week up here in Northern California on the road. And thank you to Adam, who's been busting ass every day, getting the show broke down and put back up again. So, but today, you guys, I have another story kind of similar to yesterday's story because there's scammers everywhere, even in Alaska. Small of a population and live up there. There's still a bunch of scammers up there too. And today, my story, an interior Alaska couple is accused of defrauding investors in a fake marijuana business. The charges say, oh, wait till you guys hear about this. A Delta Junction couple accused of taking more than $700,000 from investors for fake marijuana bud and breakfast business now faces federal charges. Brian and Candy Cordy were indicted by a federal grand jury in April on charges of wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. The Cordys opened a bank account and started their business, Ice Fog, back in 2017, and they began offering investor shares of stock to raise money for the company. According to the indictment, they hired and enlisted others to help sell shares as well, although the indictment does not name anyone else involved. The couple purchased the Midway Lodge along the Richardson Highway near Delta Junction in 2018 and told investors they were opening it as a bud and breakfast that they described as a, get ready for this, a marijuana theme park, according to the indictment. They told investors the lodge would include glass ceilings for guests to watch the northern lights from in bed and would also serve as a place to grow and sell marijuana, the indictment said. The Cordys told investors that the Alaska Marijuana Control Office had performed inspections and an application to become a licensed grow and dispensary was in the final stages of approval. The indictment said said the business, they said, was expected to earn more than $3.85 million in the first year, and get this, over $23 million by the third year. According to the indictment, they told investors to expect a return 30 times larger than their investment, the indictment read. The defendants and their co-conspirators made these representations, even though they knew Ice Fog had no meaningful current or prospective revenue stream and little to no prospect to obtain a license from the Alaska Marijuana Control Office, the indictment said. As the Cordys began receiving investments, they used the money for personal expenses and lied to investors by telling them the funds were used to purchase products for the business or renovate the lodge, according to the affidavit. They also told investors the business was already making thousands of dollars weekly by, get this, by providing armed transportation services for the marijuana industry, according to the indictment. In total, the Cordys raised about $722,000 from sale of so-called shares, and the fraudulent scheme involved at least 22 separate investors by January of 2020, the indictment said. The grand jury indicted the Cordys on April 18th, just 2 days before 420, but the case was initially sealed so law enforcement could execute a search warrant and issue summonses for their appearances. The Cordys are scheduled to appear in court on Monday, and a federal public defender representing Brian Cordy declined to comment on the case on Wednesday, and an attorney representing Candy Cordy could not be immediately reached. Well, I'll tell you what, just judging by their names, Candy Cordy, and I mean, man, it just sounds shady. And anyone that's going to tell you that they're going to build glass ceilings, you should know that if you have an earthquake, you might wake up in shards of glass. And this is Jason Beck reporting for the High at 9 News Hour. What do y'all think about these scammers?
Gonna see more and more of them.
More and more scammers?
Yeah, man.
I mean, but how are they going to raise the money if the money pool is drying up in cannabis?
Individual investors, man. Savvy investors are dropping out, and they're more selective with what they're going for, and there's a lot of desperate people right now.
There's a lot of desperate people, that's for sure.
Looking for stuff like this. When the economy is down, the scammers are up. Am I wrong?
Man, no, not at all. It's very, very true. Very, very, very true. Yeah, you got to reload. You got to reload, Matthew. You're like frozen, like
I
frozen.
don't think he's frozen. I think he's just Uber.
He's frozen. He's stuck. He's stuck. His arms trying to punch himself.
They're diamonds.
I'm currently stuck between dimensions. I'm trying to get back to you guys.
Yeah.
It's been an intense weekend, everybody.
He's transitioning.
How fake was this? Like, did they have anything?
No, they had
Nothing.
nothing. Then they scammed almost $750,000.
Well, then, no offense. I mean, much love to the scammers. I don't understand how an investor is like, you've got nothing. I don't see a damn thing except for a deck. Let me give you $1 gazillion.
So you're supporting scammers? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, the investor should have done a lot more due diligence.
Gretchen supporting the scammers. Look at that.
I'm just saying.
Yo,
It's
yes,
silly
I
that
agree.
they didn't.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
How much did they raise total?
$722,000.
This sounds very, very similar to the case that was in Colorado. Remember we covered that one? about a year
Yeah.
ago, maybe a
I
year and a
mean,
half ago.
how are they going to make $3 million off of a bud and breakfast in Alaska?
Mm.
All right. They don't even have a population that even makes $1 million up there.
Maybe Sarah Palin was involved.
It's the cruise tourism. They're going to count on the cruise tourism.
Oh man, that would be a good one if one of Sarah Palin's kids was involved in this. That would be hilarious.
Sarah Palin, the first dude, Todd Palin. Hey, man.
Every con starts with unrealistic expectations, because the number one thing you want to find in a mark is that avarice and that greed. So instead of telling their friends what's up or telling on you, they're going to stay hooked in to try to get that sweet payout.
Yep.
Do you think? I mean, would you stay in a place that had glass ceilings?
Ask a woman.
What is that supposed to mean?
I mean, Gretchen didn't answer yet. Gretchen, would you stay in a place with glass ceilings? Would you think that was fancy? Like, oh my God, I can watch the sunrise from bed.
I would think that engineering-wise, it probably isn't a single pane of glass. I would trust that they would actually put in something to code that probably isn't glass, but they're just calling it glass.
I'm in
There's
the mirrored
lots of buildings
ceilings.
that have glass ceilings, Jason Beck. It's not that weird.
I like
I
mirrors
think
on
it's
my
a little
ceilings.
weird.
Huh?
I thought we were supposed to break the glass ceilings and help people come up.
That was the joke that went right over Gretchen's head.
I know what the joke was.
I
I didn't feel it needed real engagement. I love all this testosterone.
Oh yeah.
Can we move on? Can we move on?
I guess we can.
Let's
We can
go.
go to a commercial. We'll be right back.
Yikes. Or not.
Oh, yeah. You know what time it is? That's right. It's Tuesday over here at Green Street, and we got Smoky Vanilla with us in the building. So that's right. It is time to stretch and smoke. We just got done smoking. Now we're going to stretch it out, and then we're going to smoke again.
Let's go. I'm Smoky Vanilla with my background in kinesiology and bodywork massage and assisted stretching. You got to come check it out, baby. Check me out on IG at Smoky Vanilla 1, Stretch and Smoke. Twitter, Smoky Vanilla. Social Club, Stretch and Smoke. We're also on Sports Recovery by Dan and Jam.
If you want to feel as good as I look, then make sure that you get a stretch and smoke in with Smoky Vanilla.
Yeet!
Hello? You guys there? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Coming up next, that's right. We got the dope dad himself. That's right, Rico Lamitte, who was just up here in Santa Rosa with me hanging out. We were getting some footage filmed over here at Hall of Flowers, and it looks like he's already flown back south for the weekend. That's right. Judging by his background, he is back at home in lovely Los Angeles, California. That's right. As the dope dad himself, must have had some babysitting jobs he had to do this weekend. Rico Lamitte.
Oh, yeah. I see there's a little bit of a delay in my video, but if my voice is okay, I'm just going to run with my story before I refresh here. But it is good to be back down here in Southern California. Big shout out to everybody that I got to meet up with this week up in Santa Rosa. The fans from the show, and there's lots and lots and lots of love. And if you guys want the limited edition High at 9 news hats, make sure you guys hit up Jason Beck. See what he can do for you. So my story, man, is it's pretty some serious stuff. My question is it more reefer madness or is it real reefer sadness? Definitely a question several advocates are asking themselves after a National Institute of Health funded study released yesterday suggested cannabis may be behind 30% of schizophrenia cases in young men. National Institute on Drug Abuse study included 6 million people, 50 and under. And now agency director and co-author of the study, Dr. Nora Volkow, is calling for an urgent action over the results and demanding people think twice before smoking cannabis going forward. Researchers found in the study an estimated 30% of schizophrenia cases in men aged from 21 to 30 are linked to cannabis addiction, leading them to believe it may be the cause of a recent surge in schizophrenia cases among the same age and gender group. The analysis found 15% of diagnoses in men and 4% in women could be attributed to THC. Schizophrenia cases have been on the rise in recent decades, linked to growing and aging populations. But the researchers in this study warn it could become more common as cannabis becomes increasingly legal and accessible to the vulnerable. Dr. Volkow said, the entanglement of substance use disorders and mental illnesses is a major public health issue requiring an urgent action and support for people who need it. As access to potent cannabis products continues to expand, it is crucial that we also expand prevention, screening, and treatment for people who may experience mental illness associated with cannabis use. The findings from this study are one step in that direction and can help inform decisions that healthcare providers may make in caring for patients, as well as decisions that individuals may make about their own cannabis use. Several studies have found links between cannabis and schizophrenia in the past, though the exact cause has never been clear. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street, and as a parent, I don't know what to really think here. So I'm going to stop before going too deep into an issue I clearly am not an expert on, and ask my colleagues on the team with much more medical and scientific experience. Dr. T.
Hey, Rico, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Should we be
Sound
concerned
great.
here?
All right. Well, this is interesting because there was recently a study out of Canada that showed that there was no association between cannabis use and schizophrenia. So I think this adds to evidence, but not necessarily is conclusive. There's contradictory evidence. I definitely think more cannabis use is going to be associated with schizophrenia since there's just more use in general. In regards to the patients that I see who volunteer to see me because it's helping their schizophrenia or it's helping the side effects of medication, I still think that there's positive outcome to cannabis use with schizophrenia. In regards to wondering if your kids are going to become schizophrenic, I think the evidence shows no, not unless they were predisposed to being schizophrenic beforehand.
Well, Dr. Talleyrand, too, don't you think we have to look at who this study is from? I mean, this doctor is a national prohibitionist and is totally against cannabis and has done a number of studies just trying to prove harms around cannabis throughout her career. So, I'm not. As soon as I heard that name, I was like, "Oh, I know exactly who that is." I've watched this lady testify in Congress and everything, saying how bad cannabis is. And
Who are you talking about? Are you talking about Volkow?
yep,
Volkow has totally changed her tune on cannabis in recent years, Jason Beck.
not by this article. She hasn't.
Well, I
Just saying.
maybe I'm
Just
giving
saying,
her
Gretchen.
too much credit to think that
Way
maybe the
too much
woman is
credit.
looking at the science and might know
She
a
is
thing or
not looking
two
at the
more about
science.
this than you do, Jason Beck. Have you read the study?
Yeah, I have.
Do you
We
know
just
how
read
they
it.
conducted it?
We just read it.
Okay.
Jason, I thought you were a firm believer in people
I don't think
evolving.
he read it.
We just read the study, Gretchen. What are you talking about?
It was a group project.
Dr. Volkow's always been this way, though. She's always
See,
she's always had some concern with
Yes.
increased schizophrenia and cannabis use.
do you think it's possible that she's a schizophrenic and she's just projecting?
I think you're being an idiot, Jason Beck.
No.
I thought that was a legitimate question, Gretchen.
Do you think it's possible she's an actual living vampire? I mean, I'm just asking questions.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Hey, Saint Germain, you would know Mr. Transylvania himself.
Is there someone else trying to speak? Yeah.
Yes. You guys on the live sound really low. Your volume's really low. We can't hear you over here in Clubhouse.
Oh, here.
But what I was going to ask is
that better? Is that better now?
No, still low.
How about now?
Just let Nicole speak.
How's mine? Am I okay?
This is a certified
So my question is, where is she getting the cannabis from? At least we know probably the research that was done in Canada was coming from a regulated market, so product was safe and tested. And so I'm interested in knowing when they do research like this, especially here, where are they getting the cannabis from? Are they just asking a group of men that are in a regulated legal state? Or are they asking people in Louisiana and Georgia that don't have access to regulated safe cannabis? Because that can also have something to do, because when you have products that are not in the regulated market that can be sprayed with anything, have they been tested? Do we know where these products are coming from? That's a question of concern when it comes to research.
Great question.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Fantastic. I mean, I still think it's a skewed study. Skewed first Project Sam.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know, man. We have more. Are we going to have more of these? I know the NIH has come under a lot of scrutiny, and they're going to be coming under more scrutiny as we dive deeper into the origins of COVID-19. But I don't want to get us demonetized, so I won't go too deeper into that.
Yeah.
So we're just going to keep it moving here. Coming up next, she is the High at 9 news team's very own Washington insider. Ain't nothing little about this one. The founder of Panoptic Strategies and PETA's top 10 most wanted 9 months in a row for putting those terrible outfits on her dogs. Y'all know who it is. Coming to the stage next, Gretchen Gailey.
I'm just waiting for those High at 9 dog pajamas to become available. I
Me
can't
too.
wait. Jason back.
Me too. I hope Jax is on it.
I want to see Salem in a
Trust
cape.
me, we're looking into it. Anyway, my headline is coming from Marijuana Moment. Pennsylvania lawmakers file bill to legalize marijuana sales through state-run stores. Pennsylvania lawmakers have filed new bills to legalize marijuana sales through state-run stores and to provide permits for farmers and small agricultural businesses to cultivate cannabis once adult use sales are allowed. About 2 months after circulating a co-sponsorship memo for the legalization proposal, Representative David Delioso formally introduced the legislation on Tuesday. The bill, which is similar to a measure he filed last session, would allow adults 21 and older to possess, consume, cultivate, and purchase cannabis through a state-run store system by the Liquor Control Board. In the interest of the efficient use of law enforcement resources, enhancing revenue for public purposes, and individual freedom, the people of this Commonwealth find and declare that the use of cannabis should be legal for individuals who are at least 21 years of age and should be taxed. Retail cannabis sales would be taxed at 19%, and all of that revenue would go towards the state general fund. The bill would also create a distinct regulatory system for industrial hemp. Notably, the legislation, which has 20 initial co-sponsors, also contemplates the possibility of allowing cannabis imports from other states or countries where marijuana is legal. It would also prohibit regulators from importing marijuana that is produced somewhere that doesn't accept exports from Pennsylvania. Lawmakers in several states have pursued interstate marijuana commerce legislation in anticipation of a federal policy change. Oregon and California have already enacted bills to that end, and similar legislation is on the desk of Washington State's governor. In a co-sponsorship memo for the Pennsylvania bill that was first circulated in February, Delioso emphasized the harms of marijuana criminalization for individuals caught up in the drug war, as well as the economic toll of enforcing prohibition. Meanwhile, implementing a legal cannabis market stands to generate hundreds of millions in tax revenue and thousands of jobs, he said. However, permitting private companies to sell cannabis in Pennsylvania could allow large corporations to take over the cannabis industry, putting profits before the well-being of our communities. For these reasons, my legislation will legalize adult use cannabis through the current state store system in order to ensure the safety and integrity of cannabis sales in Pennsylvania. I could go on, but what's the point of talking about piss poor legislation anymore? This is a horrible bill. I love how they say that there are 20 co-sponsors of this bill. Yes, there are. 20 dumb Democrats have gotten on board with this bill. I don't know in what world these guys think it makes sense to sell cannabis next to alcohol. The state store system in Pennsylvania is not the place for cannabis, and all they are saying to entrepreneurs in Pennsylvania is take a hike. This is bullshit. Who wants an entire cannabis system run by the state who can't even run itself? This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
Oh, man.
Pisses me off.
On fire today. Man, oh, man.
It really grinds Gretchen.
Grinds my gears.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because it's not going to pass anyway because Republicans control the legislature. So good luck with another piss poor piece of legislation.
Thank goodness we have some common sense Republicans.
Thank
there.
God.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
wait a minute. Wait
Yes,
a minute.
sir.
Every state has issues with considering cannabis like alcohol. That's been a big problem, I think, because cannabis is not alcohol. You know, even California was considering a potency tax. It's the wrong way to consider it. Democrats, I just blame every state. Misunderstanding cannabis.
I think it's just the Democratic approach. They want to overregulate and overtax, and this is their perfect way to do it in Pennsylvania, is to do it through a state-controlled system. And then at the same time, then you also have to look at the state is now a co-conspirator for the sale of a Schedule I drug.
Well, what they're doing is they're mirroring it on their alcohol system. Pennsylvania is founded by Quakers and Puritans.
It's still, bro. They're still. The state is a co-conspirator now in the sale of a.
Oh yeah,
drug.
yeah. No, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying the reason that they're probably putting it forth this way is it's the same way with alcohol sales in Pennsylvania. You have to go to a state-controlled liquor store. They have restricted hours. They're not open on Sundays. It's just an attempt by the Christo-fascist leaders.
Yeah.
See the smile, guys?
It's hard to hear you there, Saint Germain. But from what I could hear, I agree.
Adam destroyed my audio, you guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
This
Adam,
is stupid.
Adam's.
I mean,
working.
I really don't think you should be able to buy, your alcohol next to your pre-rolls or whatever.
I don't have a problem buying alcohol next to pre-rolls. I'm totally
I
down with that.
do.
I'm all
Hello?
about the crossfade for the win. We were having this conversation last
I
night.
know you love the
Robert.
crossfade for the win.
Yeah.
However, I think you're just setting cannabis up for a bigger fall when some idiot leaves the store, gets drunk, and they're consuming cannabis at the same time. Who are they going to blame it on? They ain't going to blame it on alcohol. They're going to blame it on cannabis.
They're gonna blame it
I'll
on
blame it on
alcohol.
the crossfade.
Okay, whatever.
I'm
Either
just
way,
saying.
it's stupid. It's asinine.
The stupid part, Gretchen, is not that it's going to be sold next to alcohol. The stupid part is that it's going to be run in a state-controlled environment. Okay,
Yeah, that's not a good plan either.
The state has zero thought process of design, layout, how these types of businesses should work. I
You
mean,
just go to Canada if you want a state-run system.
exactly. Yeah, go to communist Canada.
Piss poor. Piss poor. Thank God for Republicans saving the day in Pennsylvania.
Right.
Once again.
Oh yeah.
Brother, this guy stinks!
It's Penelope Stampede. Watch out in Pennsylvania.
Ugh.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to John
and
Fetterman. Shout out
on
to
a
John
side
Fetterman
note,
and his body double.
on a side note, this has nothing to do with my story, but I saw no one else picked it up, so I'll just say it. Senate Banking Committee is holding a hearing on safe banking next week, but this story pissed me off more, so I did this one. But
We're so glad you covered this because
pass
we
safe
love you.
banking. Suck it, Pennsylvania Democrats.
Did you say pass safe bacon?
Banking.
Oh,
Bacon.
bacon.
I love banking and I love bacon. Can we
Uh-huh.
get that on a t-shirt, Jason Beck?
Yeah.
And I love Todd Dankin.
Oh boy, because it really sounded like Gretchen said pass safe bacon. As if
I would love some
pass
safe bacon. You
safe
got some bacon?
Baking already.
Yep.
Bacon,
Gretchen,
bacon. I
safe
love
baking.
everything with bacon.
You
Safe
should go-
baking is making
go
sure you
over
have
to
oven
Waldorf
mitts and a
Astoria.
fresh apron to
Go
prevent,
where?
You need to go-
cross contamination.
You need to go over to the Waldorf Astoria, Gretchen, and order the bacon, and they'll bring it over to you like on this little flankers, and it's just
How much is
dangling.
that? Like
They
40
bust
bucks
out.
for
They
bacon?
bust out a torch and start torching it. And you can feel like you're taking dabs off the bacon.
Safe
Ooh.
bacon is free of nitrates.
Can I pick my crispiness on my bacon?
Yes, you can. You can.
Nice. I
Yeah.
like my bacon kind of limp.
Oh,
Slip some in.
I'm not going there. That's
slim bacon. Oh,
Flaccid
man.
bacon is my favorite.
I think
Mm-mm-mm.
that's what we're putting on the T-shirt right there. Gretchen
Flaccid
likes
bacon.
limp bacon. Yeah. Do you have limp bacon? Because Gretchen
but-
loves it.
what kind
I
of pork
always
do you
ask
have in
that
your
when
bills?
I go to the restaurants. I'm like, I would like my bacon a little,
Little.
you know, flaccid.
You like a little flaccid? You like
I like my meat rare.
oh my God, Gretchen, bring
And
the
my
heat
bacon.
today.
All right, let's go to halftime or something.
I feel like that should be a band's name, Limp Bacon.
Limp Bacon.
I like it.
Limp Gretchen.
Uh-huh. Oh man, we're gonna go to a commercial. We're gonna be right back. Oh boy.
Keeping up to date on the evolving policies of relevant state, local, and federal governments is key to success. When the future of your business is at stake, you need representation as dedicated as you are. With a maze of laws and regulations surrounding cannabis, hemp, and psychedelics, knowing where to begin can be a challenge. Good thing the law offices of Omar Figueroa features a skilled, highly focused team ready to guide you through it all. They're accepting new clients in California and New York. So make sure you check them out at info@omarfigueroa.com.
You gonna give us a
Hi, everybody.
Oh yeah, that's right. It is halftime right now. Make sure you guys go over to our website, www.highat9news. Check out, sign up for our newsletter, excuse me. Make sure that you get a confirmation email. It may go into your spam or your junk mail, so make sure you check there. But until you hit that confirmation link from that email, you will not be subscribed. So please follow the directions, make it happen. We appreciate all of your support. Also, too, if you want us to pay attention to your chats, make some super chat. That's the best way for us to see. And also, while you're over there at our website, make sure you check out your merch and be like Anna and make a purchase. She just received her bucket hat in the mail today, and her bathing suit is on the way. Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
Oh, yeah. Coming up next, this OG industry doctor has been writing Rex since the days of Jesus Christ when he walked next to Matthew St. Germain. Y'all know who he is. He is the founder of Medican and co-founder of CESC, providing daily dated-backed doses of compassion for the people every damn day of the year. Coming to the stage, Dr. Jean Talleyrand.
Thank you, Rico. Happy Friday, everyone. My story today is from U.S. News and World Report. Medical marijuana can safely control cancer patients' pain, study says. So according to a new study, medical cannabis can safely reduce cancer pain and is apparently so effective that patients wind up taking lower amounts of opioids and other pain medication. This study tracked 358 patients with cancer through the Quebec Cannabis Registry between May 2015 and October 2018. The average age of each respondent was 57, and the most common cancers were genital, breast, and colon. Pain was the most frequent symptom that prompted a physician's recommendation for medical cannabis. 57% of the patients in this study took cannabis oils or capsules by mouth. Only 13% smoked or inhaled. 25% used a combination of methods. At 9 months, patients reported a 35% decrease in their worst levels of pain. 43% reported a decrease in how pain interfered with their daily lives. After a year, there remained a 33% decrease in average pain and 32% decrease in pain severity. Dr. Antonio Vigano, an associate professor of oncology and medicine at McGill University in Montreal, performed the study and reports these were clinically significant decreases, strong enough that they cannot be considered a placebo effect. The most effective products for pain contained a one-to-one balance of THC and CBD. Products with dominant THC or CBD alone did not work as well. The most common side effects were sleepiness, reported by 3 people only, fatigue, reported by 2. All the side effects were managed by decreasing the dose or adjusting or changing the product. I prescribe medical cannabis, and I found it helpful, especially in patients with advanced disease, on a ton or on a ton on a ton of other medications, says Dr. Roger Flores, chair of thoracic surgery for Mount Sinai Health System in New York. It really seems to cut down the amount of pain and opioid medication that they use, which in turn lets them feel better, makes them less constipated. It increases their appetite and elevates their mood a little bit. Flores emphasizes that medical and not recreational cannabis products are what have proven useful in his practice. It has to be the right patient, not just any person who has cancer. It has to be a patient uh, who is really being incapacitated not only by cancer, but by the opioids, painkillers, and anti nausea medication, Flores says. Dr. Vagano is one tool of many. My definition of medical cannabis is as a complementary treatment, which in certain patients can be effective and can lead to reduction in medication. Although this is not the first study on cancer pain and cannabis use, it adds to the proof that cannabis is useful. It's an observational study that generates a hypothesis. It's not a double blind, randomized controlled trial that is considered gold standard for proving drug effectiveness. It's also missing an evaluation of dosage. How much cannabis to take is still a process of trial and error for patients. Dr. Vagano believes that patients using cannabis need to be guided by a doctor. It cannot be left in the hands of patients to decide what to do, or the hands of people who are dealing with cannabis, which is not sold for medical purpose, but sold for recreational purpose. Although there's some double talk, the American Cancer Society supports these findings. They also point out that the Schedule 1 status of cannabis imposes numerous conditions and deters scientific study. When I go into a dispensary, I see very few medical products, quote unquote medical, despite the fact that the store is registered to dispense medical cannabis. So, what do you think? Is this good news? This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand for High at 9 News.
I think this is fantastic news, Dr. Talleyrand. I'm I, I thought this was an amazing study when I saw this. I was like, wow, look at this. Like this is exactly stuff that we have been trying to tell people forever. And here we have some medical documents to actually back up all of our hyperboles that we've been telling the general public forever.
I agree. I agree 100%. I've said it on the show before. When my dad he died of cancer, and that last year, the only thing that helped him with his pain specifically were those 1,000 milligram bang bars from California. It was either that or Dilaudid, and on the Dilaudid, my dad wasn't there anymore, so it was a safe way for him to not feel that pain. I love this study. Thank you, Dr. Talleyrand.
Stone, did your dad use 1-to-1 or did he use high THC or high CBD?
I'm gonna say it's probably high THC. It was those old bang bars from California, 1,000 milligrams, and it was the only thing that soothed him. So I can say I don't know what the percentages were, but it 100% made him feel better than the Dilaudid. So I agree with this 100%.
Got it. This study says he might have even had better pain relief with the 1-to-1. I think that's sort of the most that's the highlighted part of this story, that 1-to-1 seems to work better for cancer pain anyway.
Well, I wish we had it.
Dr. Talleyrand, was this an actual diagnosed clinical study, or was this just a private study?
This was a study, I believe, from a university. I don't remember in Canada, but it was
It's from McGill University.
Study.
Did they get the experimental elements from the NADA?
Where did they get the cannabis? Is that what you asked?
To make it an official clinical with the Schedule 1 drug.
The patients bought the cannabis themselves under the doctor's guidance through the medical cannabis program in Canada?
I think it's huge because the fact that the Cancer Society even put the fact of the that they had to acknowledge and put the cannabis does inhibit the cancer cells when they put that on their site. This is just another progression. And like they actually quoted, it detours the schedule. That was huge, I think, in the article that they determined that the Schedule 1 detours the clinicals and the research, which is huge.
Yeah, it supports all of our claims that they need to either deschedule or just get controlled substances act, is what I'm in favor of.
I'm with you. I think this is probably, this might be the best news that we've heard all day, Dr. Talleyrand, especially after Rico's story. You know, the
Yeah. Well,
skewed doctor
studies
info.
are positive. Studies are positive and negative. This is not the first study saying that cannabis helps with cancer pain. I believe there are two others that are pretty decent also. It just adds to the evidence. That's what we do. Pile up evidence on one side or the other and weigh the options.
Exactly.
Dr. Talleyrand, like you say, there's always multiple studies always coming out, different things. How do you get the scientific community on board to find and be like, all right, cannabis is good for one thing or the other? Is that ever possible? How do you finally get wide acceptance?
We're always going to debate, right? I mean, that's just part of what we do. We're going to debate back and forth. I guess it's like Congress in some way. But, once you have enough evidence on one side and once you have, the randomized controlled trials that prove effectiveness of a specified drug, right now we're just sort of scanning the environment and seeing what people are using and whether they're feeling better. But eventually we're going to have a specific formulation that we're going to test and see that it's better than opiates or whatever you compare it to. So that's really that will be the nail in the coffin. Until then, we just have to keep doing more studies.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much for this, Dr. Talleyrand. This has been fantastic. And I'm so glad that we were able to share some great news. We're gonna go to commercial and we're gonna be right back.
How's it going, guys? Saman Razani coming to you from Green Street here with Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast available on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify? Tune in now and check it out.
Oh yeah, that's right. Coming up next from the great red as Gretchen's hair state of Texas. That's right. It is the man, Mr. Stone Slade, living out there in the super blue Austin little area. That's right. He's known for hitting the high road and hitting that Delta 8 pen on the regular. That's right, is my friend, Mr. Stone Slade.
I think Jason secretly smokes Delta 8. I don't know. Anyway, my story is coming from right here in Texas. Just last week, our own Liz Groh reported that the Texas House of Representatives passed a cannabis decriminalization bill that's now pending in the Senate. However, many of us are very aware of what happened when similar decrim bills passed the House during the past two legislative sessions here in Texas in 21 and 19. Texas GOP's most successful arch conservative Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick continues to fight the culture wars of yesteryear with actions like calling a bill to decriminalize small amounts of cannabis dead on arrival in 2019 and refusing to give a hearing to a medical cannabis expansion measure. It's doubtful that the Lieutenant Governor, who can withhold bills from being referred to Senate committees for review, will advance cannabis legislation bills under his watch, even though currently 80% of Texans support cannabis decriminalization and medical cannabis expansion, while 66 also support adult use. Dan Patrick should not be suppressing bills with resounding public support because of his own personal preference. Now, two cities aren't going to wait to see what happens in the state capitol. They'll be heading to the polls tomorrow to decide on two related local ballot measures. San Antonio voters will consider a broad justice reform initiative that includes provisions to decriminalize cannabis, and Harker Heights residents will have the chance to overturn their government's repeal of an earlier decriminalization measure that they already passed. Now, San Antonio can thank advocates from Ground Game Texas because the organization spearheaded the ballot initiative, turning in more than 37,000 signatures to qualify it in January. And the San Antonio proposal asks voters if they support police, blocking police from making arrests or issuing citations for low-level cannabis possession, preventing the enforcement of abortion restriction laws, banning no-knock warrants, and making other reforms. Part of the measure reads, it's the policy of the city of San Antonio to use its available resources and authority to accomplish 3 goals of paramount importance. First, to reduce the city's contribution to mass incarceration. Second, to mitigate racially discriminatory laws, enforcement practices. And third, to save scarce public resources for greater public needs. Now, the cannabis section of the initiative stipulates that San Antonio police officers shall not issue citations or make arrests for Class A or Class B misdemeanor possessions of cannabis offenses. Police can't consider the odor of cannabis or hemp to constitute probable cause for search or seizure. No city funds or personnel shall be used to request, conduct, or obtain THC testing of any cannabis-related substance to determine whether the substance meets the legal definition of cannabis under state law. And decriminalize possession. Here's what we do for Jason. Decriminalizing possession of synthetic cannabinoids by requiring police to issue a ticket or citation rather than arrest or for possessing up to 4 ounces of the substance. Now, in Harker Heights, like I mentioned, the voters already approved decriminalization on the ballot last November, but the city council repealed the ordinance because they believed it conflicted with state law. Now activists have repealed the repeal, and we'll get a final decision at the ballot box on Saturday. I think we're going to see a lot more of local decriminalization efforts happen in Texas because citizens are just tired of the nonsense we're getting from up top. Governor Abbott's done nothing to decriminalize cannabis, even though last year he said that he didn't think people should be jailed over low-level marijuana possession, and then wrongly said possessions of small amounts of cannabis is a Class C misdemeanor, punishable only with a ticket or fine. When in reality, even low-level pot busts here in Texas are still Class B misdemeanors, which call for up to 6 months in jail. Good luck to my fellow Texans in San Antonio and Harker Heights tomorrow. And if you're in those cities, get off your butt and go vote. I'm Stone Slade reporting for the High at 9 News Hour.
Oh, yeah. Big old Texas voting coming out. They go to the polls tomorrow on this, Stone?
Go to the polls tomorrow.
Oh, man. I love a good poll.
I know you do.
Yeah.
Just like that Delta 8.
You're so silly. You're so and they're going to regulate Delta 8 with this too now, right?
Well, I don't know about what the regulation is, but they're trying to decriminalize that as well. I don't agree with that measure, but I'm pro cannabis, but not pro the fake stuff. So,
pro cannabis, but you're against all other synthetic regards to cannabis, huh?
I'm not with the synthetic, bro. Come on.
Are you pro poutine, Sloan?
What am I pro?
Pro poutine? Yeah.
Poutine?
Poutine.
Oh, I love a good poutine, girl. Come on.
Poutine's delish. I don't care what your haters say, especially
Let's go.
Lopez.
I've never heard of it.
How have you never heard of poutine?
I've never heard of it. It must be trash.
Have you ever left California?
Yeah, I've been all over the world.
Clearly, you go to Canada
international
much.
traveler. I go to Canada, but just mainly to Vancouver because
they got poutine up there.
They got Pootie Tang up there. See what I did there?
I live for anything with gravy.
Oh,
I'm in a mood today. Gravy and bacon. That's what I need.
Boy, gravy.
I need gravy bacon. Yes.
Heck yeah. Delish.
Gravy, bacon. Do you have any more ads? Are we all done with the ads? All right. Well, coming up next.
Puff of smoke coming out of Saint Germain.
Yep, coming up next. That's right.
You see the smoke.
I kill you. Yeah, he's a magical little wizard. He's trolling around today.
It's been a long week.
Yeah, it has been a long week. We've been busting ass up here all week. I can't wait for you guys to see the footage that we made. So make sure you check out the YouTube page for that sometime next week. But coming up next, that's right, it is the Count, the immortal Count himself. Not to mention, he's also been our lovely host over here for High at 9 News, allowing us to hang out with the family, eat some food, smoke some trees, and oh yeah, that's right, we've been counting some G's too while we've been up here getting that bread. You know what I mean? Because we're in NorCal. Oh yeah, coming up next is the man, the Count himself, Matthew St. Germain.
Thank you, Brother Jason. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday out there. Hang in here with me. It's been a long week. I'm still settling back into the third dimension, as you can see. So I've got a great story actually shared with me by Brother Jason Beck. A top federal official touts significant potential of psychedelics at a Senate hearing. A top federal health official says there is emerging evidence that psychedelics carry significant potential as therapeutic treatments for certain mental health conditions, and it's a topic of great interest for researchers. At a hearing before a Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on Thursday, Senator Brian Schatz asked National Institute on Drug Abuse Director Nora Volkow, there you know that name, about the status of the agency's research into psychedelics. The night ahead acknowledged that psychedelic research effectively was halted for many years amid cultural stigma and ramped up criminalization under the drug war, but noted that the situation is now changing. As the evidence is starting to emerge that shows significant potential in terms of therapeutics for certain conditions like severe depression or post-traumatic stress disorder, and also preliminary research showing benefits for the treatment of addiction, she said, we're actually engaging the scientific community to try to understand how psychedelic drugs can be potentially utilized for the treatment, how they affect the brain, and also how to deploy them in ways that are going to be safe and very effective. This is an area of great interest, and both the National Institute of Mental Health and NIDA are partnering in trying to expand and accelerate the research, Volkow said. A top federal health official says there is emerging evidence that psychedelics carry significant potential as therapeutic treatments for certain mental health conditions, and it's a topic of great interest for researchers. Oh, dude. Sorry, I double copied my article because I usually edit my article, you guys. Let me skip back down here. When it comes to psychedelics, Schatz Volkow have both expressed interest in expanding research as more states have started to pursue reform with an eye toward discovering therapeutic uses for substances like psilocybin and LSD. I'm falling apart, you guys. Last year, Schatz and Senator Cory Booker pushed top federal officials to provide an update on research into the therapeutic potential of psychedelics, arguing that ongoing federal prohibition has stymied studies. So what we're seeing here, you guys, is there seems to be a quicker falling of the dominoes on psychedelics, maybe due to their fact of being obscured in this culture war, that cannabis has really been a frontline player in it. And maybe cannabis, it turns out, is the gateway drug to legalization and decriminalization of psychedelics and a healing for the human race, just like the Rastafarians always said it was going to be. This is Matthew St. Germain for High at 9 News. Jump on in here, everybody.
I mean, Matthew, you're coming. Looks like you're coming back to this dimension. Like your tattoos are back.
It's working slowly, right? Yeah. Oh, hey, look, there he is, folks.
Yeah.
St. Germain.
Yeah, they're putting all the pixels back together.
What a week.
Dr. Talleyrand, what do you think about this? We got Dr. Volkow twice in a day in stories today. She's making some news. What's up with this?
You know, it's interesting how, first of all, how Matthew's coming back after talking about psychedelics. I don't know if that's part of the image that we're getting. But it's psychedelics is sort of benefiting from, the blocking of cannabis. Everybody focuses on cannabis. Meanwhile, there's more and more psychedelics. But I do think, this war on drugs is ridiculous and sort of has prevented us from seeing many options that are out there, including what's clearly been beneficial for PTSD and major depression, psychedelics. I also believe that cannabis is a psychedelic.
I don't understand, Dr. T. Can you go into that a little bit more, because I don't believe that cannabis is a psychedelic. I'm not sure if I'm buying that. Can you give me some medical understanding on this?
Well, yeah. First, let me know what you think a psychedelic is. Maybe that's
a psychedelic. Psychedelic is something that makes me see colors like what I'm seeing with Matthew St. Germain.
So some people report that cannabis helps makes them hallucinate. Also, not most people, but often, and
especially edibles.
But just because someone reports it doesn't mean that it's really real. They could just be just hallucinating on whatever.
That's right. You can also hallucinate without any substance. You know, it's about perception, and it's about taking. Now, if you're wanting a molecular explanation for how cannabis is a psychedelic, there's sort of three molecular explanations for the psychedelic effect. There's a serotonin explanation, there's an amine explanation, and then there's a dopamine explanation. And cannabis falls mostly in the last category.
And the dopamine, huh?
Yeah, so there's molecular explanation for cannabis being quote unquote psychedelic, as well as self-reported evidence for it.
Wow. Wow. I'm not believing the self-reporters. I think they're just probably just imagine. They're probably just like sleeping and they're dreaming and they're imagining that they're awake. Psychedelic.
Well, remember, psychedelic, is a relatively new term, and it also relies, according to Leary, on set and setting, right? And so, just to look at the substance without the set and the setting is going to help you, is going to make you miss the definition of psychedelic.
I mean, what I would say, I had a psychedelic experience the other day at the Flamingo. All of a sudden,
with cannabis,
all of a sudden, we were sitting down having some food, Dr. T, and I look up and there's about 15, 30 security guards walking down one little pathway, and I looked over and I said, "Hey guys, we're getting raided right now." And that was,
sounds like real experience.
Yeah, no, that was I was, well, because I wasn't imagining it, Dr. T, and all of a sudden I was like, I was seeing something that I know is not real, but is real. Because security guards, they can't really do anything. That's why I say they're not real. They try to act like cops, but can't be cops. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Sounds like a set and setting issue.
Dr. Talleyrand, does it surprise you to hear Volkow looking at, the significant findings of psychedelics, but then again in the same another story, looking at cannabis for schizophrenia? Does that ring true to you that she could be on such different sides?
Yeah, she's pretty much a scientist. She sticks to looking at the evidence, and if the evidence points in one way or another, she pays attention to it. And I don't think that there's too much politics, and so what's going to happen is that because evidence will be contradictory, she'll sound like she's contradictory on both ends. Cannabis is being used more than psychedelics right now, and so you're going to get more negative effects from it because it's just simply used more.
Interesting.
I'd like to see more people following that and really following the data and being open to data and evidence that doesn't maybe fit with what you want it to be, right? We need to really maintain an open and flexible mind, and the universe isn't, or the world around us isn't as much about, or maybe it's a blended dance of attempting to impose our will, but at the same time realizing the truth around us, because we have a consensus reality we share. And if you're trying to just impose your will on everybody, now you're a dictator.
Yeah, I'm not even going to touch that one, Saint Germain. I feel like that was some bait right there. Oh man, have you ever had a psychedelic experience, Stone Slade?
I've had many psychedelic experiences through my time of life here, but it's I stick to mushrooms these days. It's about the only one I do anymore, and it's quite enjoyable. I mean, I do feel like it's almost like if cannabis was a psychedelic, it would be getting it'd be a lot easier to legalize. I feel like because the psychedelics seem to be getting pushed a lot quicker than cannabis, or maybe that's just because of cannabis. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, a big part of the illegalization of cannabis was to call it marijuana, and the Hearst newspapers to broadcast that it made people of color attack white people and not understand their place in society. Furthermore, throughout the 60s, cannabis was constantly stigmatized as an inner city drug of people of color, while psychedelics, even when they were being demonized and beginning to be criminalized, were being done so because they were corrupting the white college-going American youth of the upper and middle classes. You see that in the Art Linkletter going everywhere and saying that his daughter killed herself because of LSD, even though she did LSD one time over a year prior to killing herself, right? It was that whole story. And so we're still parsing our way through that, right? And we see that's a big reason for the social equity attempts is that there are some people who realize kind of the foundations and the road and the journey, the battles of this drug war, and they're trying to address that and make some sort of recompense.
Also, pay attention to the molecule. Lysergic acid, DMT, psilocybin, they're single agents. They fit a lot easier into our scientific paradigm. Cannabis is multi-agent, and which presents complexities for the way we do science these days.
Just another reason why the crossfades for the win, right, Dr. Talleyrand?
Well, that's like ayahuasca, which is one of the first crossfades. It's two plants, and sometimes it can be even more than two plants, and so they are also having a lot of trouble with getting ayahuasca into any FDA trials because of the same thing the doctor was speaking on with cannabis.
Bro, you were back in this dimension, bro. You were all the way to complete. What is going on? Look at that by the end of the show.
Back for the weekend, everybody. Happy Friday.
Thank
I'm
you.
a believer.
Oh man, this was awesome, man. What a great day. Thank you so much for all this wonderful, wonderful information, Dr. Talleyrand. We really, really, really appreciate all of this. And we want to tell you all, thank you all for getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank you to our audience and supporters for always tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to all of our sponsors. Shout out everyone that has made this week just a humongous success for everybody. First of all, Matthew St. Germain, we want to thank you and your lovely family for hosting us here. We also want to thank Yokeo Ranch up in Ukiah for hosting us as well. That's right. We also want to thank the Emerald Cup and Hall of Flowers because they both did such an amazing job hosting us as well. And all of our sponsors that we have been working with this week, iSpire, OCB, Tree Hugger Jars, is it Boost Moisture Packs? Yeah, oh yeah, and Don Murpho's Cannabis, that's right. Oh yeah, Royal Key Organics. Oh yeah, and a whole bunch of others, man. I tried an amazing hash hole from the show company. Oh yeah. Yeah, Rosin Tech for the win. Yes. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Cloud Media Partners, House of Fuego, Zaza Simone Brown holding us down in Clubhouse. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. It's America's #1 daily cannabis news show.